Royal afternoon tea service is a great British tradition, but it does involve a lot of etiquette rules, and that can be intimidating, especially for some of us commoners. Chef Larry Barrett from Simply Gourmet Catering is here to teach us how to take our tea properly. All right, Larry, so we are all set. Our pinkies are stretched and ready to be put up. All right, so let's start with the tradition of afternoon tea. How did it start?
It started with a hungry Duchess, Anna. And, you know, lunch was served at 12 or 1 o'clock, dinner, 9 o'clock.
Oh,
and she got, you know, famished. Oh. And, you know, by 4 o'clock, she was starving.
That makes sense.
So she tell the servants, hey, bring me up a little bit of bread and butter, maybe a little pastry, and a cup of tea. Then she was having such a good time all by herself, she invited her friends. And that's how tea started.
Everyone else was probably hungry and thought, this is a great idea.
I think she originated the word hangry. I think, really.
Well, and then now did Queen Victoria then adopt it and offer it to the masses?
A couple of years later, Queen Victoria started having these massive teas, inviting 5,000 people for 3 different teas. Isn't that crazy? 27,000 cups of tea, 20,000 pieces of cake, 20,000 finger sandwiches. I hate to see the catering bill on the deal, but you know, but it was really crazy. I mean, isn't it great? But the great thing about it was she just didn't only invite the upper crust. She also invited the typical mountain street, as it were. You know, so she was having a great time. Everybody got to meet. They mingle on the grounds of Buckingham Palace. And the rest is history. They still do it to this day.
It seems like such a great part of British culture. You know, in America, we say, let's go get coffee. We'll talk over coffee.
Right.
But having tea is truly a place, you know, where things are discussed.
Oh,
and
it's
people
fascinating.
Connect.
You know, Jamie and I, we have sometimes get a real hectic life. And, you know, for a while, when we first started doing the teas, we said, 4 o'clock? Let's stop for 15 minutes and have ourselves a cup.
Oh,
and you know what?
Good.
It was so nice. And so the deal was, do not talk about business during that 15 minutes.
Oh, that's probably one of the rules, right?
That is the rule.
I know that there are some rules about having proper tea, so let's start. Let's start with making a perfect cup. So you have some tricks. How do you get the perfect cup and flavor?
Well, each tea has its own personality, but the most important thing is you bring your water to a boil, and I like using a filtered water. Bring it to a boil, put in your tea, and turn the heat off. Let it steep. Like I said, each one has its own personality, so some might have to steep a little longer, just depending on what you like. But the deal is never bring it back to a boil again. It takes the oxygen out of the water, and that oxygen is what really adds a lot of nuance to the tea.
Okay, so if people think maybe if they've had bitter tea, it might be that they didn't make it properly.
They probably didn't make it properly. They let it steep too long, or they had that water boiling and the tea's rolling. Yeah.
So I'll see some people leave the bag in the whole time they're drinking the tea. You recommend taking it out at the perfect time?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
You got to get it out of there.
I think so. That's what I would do.
You have an interesting.
You don't really use bags, do you?
No.
If you're using,
You should use a loose tea. The loose tea is the best tea because tea bag tea is inferior. They call it, I forgot the name right now, but it's a Ceylon brand. The leaf is much bigger, and the bigger leaf means better brew, better tea. The other is sort of like the shaky from the leaf. And that's it, you know. It's called Pico.
Okay. You have an interesting theory about the shape of a standard teacup.
Oh, I love that. I love the fact you like that. You know, you only have 15 minutes for tea time. So if you had a teacup that was more like a mug, it tends to keep things too warm. I think the width of the teacup is so that the tea can cool off a little bit more quickly, and you can get through it and maybe even have yourself a second cup.
Yes, all right, now I know one thing you never want to do is reach for or serve cream, correct?
That's right. Cream, I gotta say, cream, even in cooking, it coats the inside of your mouth and deadens your taste buds. So if somebody makes a sauce out of all cream, and they don't put a little milk in there and thicken it with a little roux, you end up deadening the flavors. And that,
and your reputation.
What a faux pas. What a faux pas.
Do we add anything to the tea?
Yes, always milk. Always milk.
Oh,
and
milk is
always
okay.
serve scones with strawberry preserves.
Yes. So let's get to what you would serve with tea. So you've brought us a selection.
Right.
Does it matter what order you serve any
Yes.
snacks?
Oh, what's of the utmost importance? Oh, my dear. We always
Such a
start.
commoner.
I know. I'm showing my colors.
We always start with the savories. And the savories are usually a mixture of sandwiches. I make a little vegetable roulade or a turkey roulade to go along with it, just because it looks a little prettier and adds a little life to it.
And all finger food?
All finger
We don't
food.
ever want to get out utensils.
No,
Okay.
you don't really have to. And then we go to, what I like to go to after that is scones. I look at scones as the midway between the savory and the sweet. My scones are more like a biscuit. They're slightly sweet, but biscuity, not cakey. And then you go to your sweets, and all hell breaks loose.
Now,
great
you
job.
and your wife Jamie, you mentioned Jamie, you know a lot about this because you have been offering this every year at the Powell Crosley
Yes.
Estate. Tell us about your tea service.
Well, it's really taken off. We've been having a lot of fun doing it. I think this is our 10th year, and we've been sold out for the last 8.
Wow.
And the great thing about it is, usually whenever we do weddings there, because we do a lot of weddings at the Crosley, we're always downstairs, and it's a little dimmer down there. We moved everything upstairs, and I believe we're the first caterers to do that. This way you have a beautiful view of the bay, and more intimate. You're in the
lovely
living
afternoon.
quarters.
Yes, it's very, very
great,
popular on the
great.
Sun Coast, and now we know everything that we need to know in order to try to go. If you would like to know more about the Royal English Tea Service, you can check out. It will be select Tuesday and Wednesday afternoons in February and March at the Powell Crosley Estate. And for more information, you can go to Larry's website, simplygourmetcaterers.com. Next, it is time for Suncoast for Sale.
Enjoy.
Yes, yes.